Hello and welcome to another video. In this one we're going to be talking about static method and class method in Python and what those two decorators do and how you might use them. Let's jump into it. I did a video on decorators a long time ago. I will link that in the description. At the end I'll show you my own version of static method and class method. So we're going to implement the descriptor level stuff. So if you want to see the advanced stuff, it'll be at the end. But we'll start with just the boring, basic beginning stuff first. All right. It's not boring. Learning is great. All right, so the static method and class method decorators come into place when you're making methods, and methods are functions that are part of classes. And what static method allows you to do, we'll start with that one first. It allows you to make a function on the class that does not take the normal self parameter. So you can see that this function can take 0 parameters. F was called. And independent of how this gets used, python 3-i t.py, so if you do c.f, you can, c.lowercase f, you can call the function. You can also call this on an instance of the class, and cf will be called in either place. And there's no special method stuff here. If we didn't have the static method here, you could still call it on the bare class itself, and this is actually new in Python 3. This wasn't the case before. So you can see that you can call the function like this. But if you were to try and call it on a method, you'll get this error about 0 positional arguments, but 1 was given. And the one argument that's given here is that implicit self that gets passed along when you construct something. But the static method decorator, you can think of it as just like stripping that away and making this just kind of a normal function that you can call whether or not it's a class or not. Now, my personal opinion is that static methods are not useful. If I ever feel like I'm reaching for a static method, I'll probably just move it to the module scope instead, unless the class is serving a good purpose to namespace that function. I find, very rarely do I use static method in my code. But let's talk about class method next. So class method is similar to static method, although what class method does, it makes a method of the class. So if we make a function called g, and conventionally the first argument of a class method is always CLS. It can be whatever you want, but conventionally it is CLS. G was called from class. I'm gonna put a little equals there so we get the nice output here. So what a class method does, it's very similar to static method, except it ensures that the type of the class is passed in here, whether or not it was called on the class itself or on an instance of the class. So if we restart here and do c.g, you'll see that we pass in our class that we got there. And if we construct to C, it'll also pass in this class here. And just to show you what it would do if this were commented out, the first one would error saying that we don't have enough arguments because this doesn't pass along a positional argument in this case. Or if we call it on the instance, it'll actually pass in an instance of the class instead of the class. So this is the class object, this is an instantiated class. So it acts like a normal method without class method, even though this isn't called self. So there's really nothing special about this variable name. It's just conventionally called CLS or conventionally called self. You can technically call it whatever you want. Okay, so that's static method and class method. And I guess, you gotta have your other normal methods as well. H was called with self. And of course, normal methods, you can't really call them on nothing because you're missing self, but you can call them on instances and they pass along the instance of your class. So that's the 3 kinds of methods. Now I kind of want to show you how static method and class method work. We're going to do this a little bit live. I didn't take notes for this, so hopefully I can get this right. Static method. So static method is a class decorator. So that means when it gets instantiated, it's going to be passed a function, and that's going to be this function object here. And of course, this is the more advanced stuff here. And self.func equals func. And of course, you could do functools.wraps and make this work a little bit better. And there's some more stuff that static method does that I'm going to leave out here. And then that's going to return a descriptor, and a descriptor has a double-get method, which has, is it owner and instance? I forget which one it is. Let's see. find another version of double under get that I've implemented before. Actually want def get in Python 5. Instance and owner. Cool. Or I called it object and owner, so we'll do that here as well. Object and owner. And I've actually implemented a static property here, which works very similarly to what we're implementing here with static method, in that we retrieve the double under. All right, we retrieve the static method function. Oh, actually, we're just cheating here and using static method. That's clever. But we're sending back a function that has no arguments bound to it, and I believe the way to do that actually might be able to just do return self.func. Now that I think about it, let's try that, see if that works. So we should be able to replace this with static method. Actually, we'll call it my static method. That way, it's easier to differentiate the two. Oh. Python 3-i t.py and c.f and c.f. Yeah, so in that case, we've basically ignored the class and the instance itself. This will be the instance and this will be the class. And so we're just returning the original function back when the lookup is called. So that kind of discards this it discards the type there. So that's how that works. And if we want to implement a class method, my class method, we follow the same pattern as before, but instead we want to pass the class along. So that should be the owner here. And we do that by calling the original function using a descriptor. So we can do return self.func.double_get, and I believe we do none owner. It might be the other way around. Actually, I think it's the other way around. I think it's owner actually. So in this case, we're passing the class as the first argument, or we're binding the class as the first argument. This, I think, is actually ignored. We can probably actually do this. Let's try that. We'll see what that does. Because double under get, technically the second argument to get is optional. So I should probably put this here and put this here. That way we're adhering to the right function signature. So my class method. All right, do you work as well? So c.f. Oh, we want a g, not f. Yeah, okay, cool. So we pass the class along there. What about when it's an instance? Yay, it works. Okay, cool. I've implemented kind of what you can think of as the descriptor forms of both static method and class method. But anyway, hopefully this was useful. If there are additional things you would like me to explain, leave a comment below or reach out to me on the various platforms. Thank you all for watching, and I will see you in the next one.